Good morning. It is not even, I guess it's 5:30. I got up at 3, I've been cleaning my house. I've got a dinner for 45 people tonight. I don't even know, normally my house can't fit 3 people standing up, let alone sitting down and eating. So I've got things I need to do, but I'm going to do this first. Here is a pile of drafting equipment that was in a box, and now it's on my desktop. And here's my iPad, and I'm going to be recording and drawing this as a still life using Vector. So in Sketch Club. Sketch Club is an app that I love to use to draw things. And for those of you that have been following me on Instagram and Facebook and stuff like that, I do an awful lot of drawings using the Apple Pencil in this app. And I use the Vector tool, which allows me to fill in huge areas of color all in one fell swoop. I don't have to use a brush or a pen to do this or move around like this to fill in a space. What I do is I just do that, and it allows me to draw quickly because I get bored easily. Now, I usually set my opacity sort of halfway or so to start, and I have it set at gradient, which means the brightest area is going to be where I start the shape, and it fades out at a gradient. Now I could have had it set at without the gradient, in which case it would look like that, just all one shape, which I sometimes use, but most of the time I don't. So look at this, memorize it, and then I'm going to aim this down here so you see what I'm doing. And I'll see if I can have both in the camera there. The camera is sort of under my chins. Well, yes, I've got 2 chins still. I'm losing weight, but I still have 2 chins. Under my chins, chinny chin chins. And so I'm zooming this out so I can see the corners of my drawing. I had a pen customer, architect, teacher, friend who always would tell his students that the first line you make on your drawing is actually the 5th line, because the square of the page is essentially you saying this is going to be my composition. So 1, 2, 3, 4 lines. And that's something that a lot of people don't think of. They just start drawing, a person or whatever they're drawing, and the tree and the bridge and the crashing airplane or whatever they're illustrating, their bowl of fruit, their banana, whatever it is. And then they end up with all this blank space over here, like, oh, why didn't I think of that? So the idea of, when I taught, I would have my students first, with their pencil, draw 4 lines. Okay, my drawing is going to be inside of this space. It gets your head wrapped around the full composition. It's almost like if you're giving a dinner party, such as I am tonight, one of the things you have to know before you do anything is how many people are coming, the size of your party, so you can go out and buy, do I need to slaughter 1 chicken, or do I have to slaughter 10? Do I have room for 20 people? Do I have 20 chairs? Do I have a table big enough? So by drawing your border around on your page, whether it be that big, or maybe your drawing is going to be only that big, or maybe it's going to be a square. You don't know. So with the iPad, I can create, I'm sort of designing that shape as I pick the shape in the menu of this app. But I like to zoom out so I can see the entire thing, so I know where all of this is going to fit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom up on part of this. I'm not really sure what. So I'm just going to use this gray color to represent areas of color and shape. And what I do is I build up in pieces. I'm going to start the recording here, so I have a record of it. So when I upload this video to YouTube, I can also attach the drawing I'm doing here or something like that. So part of my gray color I'm going to use is going to be not only the objects I'm drawing, but maybe the background as well. So right now I'm sort of drawing the tabletop, which I know is white. I know that. You don't have to remind me. But it's not completely white. It's not going to be the lightest thing in the composition, because you see those little sparkly bits. And there's a price tag here as well. These are things that I tried to sell at one point in my life, and I was unable to sell them, so now they are mine again. They're mine. So when I draw, I often can't talk. I can't talk sometimes when I am doing nothing, but you'll have to excuse me when I sort of am not thinking. Right now it's a gob, and of course I don't know if you can see it, what it's doing. There you go. Now you can see it a little bit because I focused it on that part. I'm going to leave it here for a minute, even though it's sort of washing this out for you, but at least you have a sense of. Now I moved it to white. You have a sense of what I'm doing here. I've moved it all the way to white. It's still not at full opacity yet, but it's going to be brighter. So I'm now going to hit the areas that I see as bright. That square is this thing right here. This is a drop compass. I love drop compasses. Why do I love them, you say? Well, I'll tell you why I love them. Most compasses are, dividers and compasses are symmetrical, meaning, one leg is the same size as the other leg, so that you can easily put them on your drawing or on your map to measure things, which is fine. The drop compass is the same as well. They are there are two legs that are the same size. One is here and one is there, but they're not equal. They don't work the same way that the other compass legs work. It is used for drawing very small circles, and you put the point end down first on the center of where you want your circle to be, and then you drop the pencil or the pen part, depending, onto the paper. And I'd show you how it works, but I can't because I'm drawing it, but I will when I'm done with the drawing. And I like them because they remind me of a fiddler crab, where half the, one leg is different than the other, And it's one of those, most of Darwin created our bodies to be relatively symmetrical. And, your left side and your right side are more or less the same. Yes, I know there are some parts you only have one appendix, and that's on one side of your innards. But anyway, most of us are symmetrical, bisymmetrical, and this particular compass is not. This compass at the top, which is the one that has the frou-frou on it that I'm drawing right now, is a rather cheap compass, but the metal arms of it, or legs, if you call them legs, are engraved with pretty designs. Are they arms or are they legs? Write it in the comments below. There was a particular, what do you call it? Deodorant, antiperspirant, how can I say that? Why am I not talking this morning? Perspire, the thing you put on to keep you from sweating. Not a deodorant, antiperspirant. Well, you know what I mean. I don't know why I can't talk. Why is my mouth not working today? And I don't know what brand it was, but it was it was shown, an ad was created, an animated ad, and they showed who better to be a spokesperson for an antiperspirant than someone that has lots of arms. And they had a little octopus applying the solution to its many arms. And it was shown all over the world, I guess, from what I was told. And it had horrible reactions from people in Japan, because the octopus doesn't have 8 arms, it has 8 legs. So where was this antiperspirant being applied? Yep, you got it, in the little nether regions there. Okay, so what I've done is this Flustercuckage is now represented artistically here. Often what I'll do when and you can zoom in and see how that works. Often what I do when I get to a stage here is I will take my black color, come on, move, and then I'll cover the whole thing again to darken the whole thing a little bit. And then I'll go back in with white, bright white, and I'll zoom it in, and I'll pick the areas that are particularly shiny, like this drop compass thing here, and this part of this one here, and part of the filigree here, and I'm adding the price tags here in white. I'm leaving the background, the tabletop, a little gray. But as you notice, the things that I just drew, maybe you can't notice, but the things I just drew are not the brightest areas. The bright are, it's a little tiny bit of bright right there. So what I'm doing, I'm adding even more bright. And the pen part of the drop compass is here. I'm rotating it because my hand works better. It actually looks kind of like a fiddler crab, doesn't it? Yes, it does, Mr. Gustafson. I loved when my students would call me Mr. Gustafson. The only students that did that were this very fun set of elderly women that I taught in college, and they would meet in this senior center. I guess it was not necessarily a senior center, but it was a, what do you call them? Community center, that's what it was, in St. Peter, Minnesota. And they would meet once a week, and I would try to teach them how to paint. And it was really quite interesting how old ladies think. Now, if you're an old lady, maybe you can explain how they think. But no, it was interesting how they weren't artistic. They weren't I don't want to say talent. They were amateurs. That's what they were. And they had the idea of wanting to learn to paint. And Mr. Gustafson, they would, almost all of them, yes, in fact, every single one of them painted from photographs that they found in a magazine or that they took themselves. And I really enjoyed their view of the world because it was certainly different than my view. Mr. Gustafson, I realize that I did this wrong. And she pointed to the things she did wrong, and that was the best part of her picture. What she did was she had it was sort of Grandma Moses-y scene of a house, and the house had a couple of trees in front of it on either side of the house, and excuse me, the trees had very interesting leaves. It was a fall scene. She wanted the trees to be pretty, different colors. So it was a fall scene, and her idea was to show the trees, and the leaves, some of the leaves had fallen from the trees, and they fell. It was like the trees were on the moon. Their leaves fell directly down from their perch, and there was a perfect ellipse circle under each tree with its leaves equidistantly spaced. Maybe there was a couple of leaves that had maybe that weren't, but she thought maybe that it looked a little too regular, so she had a couple per tree that were going in a different direction that weren't quite symmetrical. But she also had the trees, the thing which she didn't even notice. She didn't notice that she didn't notice how sort of funny this looked, but she did notice how funny it was that the trees, when they came to the top of the page, the top of her canvas, she didn't want them to go off the screen. So all of the trees, they looked like they were pruned into, they were rounded on one side, but when they got to this corner, they were shaved off. So it was a tree like this in the trunk, and then it went so that there was about an inch of blue sky behind each tree. And I just smiled. I thought that was very funny. So, what do you think of this? I'm going to add, even though this is not part of the composition necessarily, there's this crumpled piece of paper back here. Now I'm going in with black, and when I'm drawing, I don't know if you notice, but I'm not drawing. Sometimes I draw the thing, and sometimes I draw just. Right now I'm drawing a shadow, but while I have that color paint on my paintbrush here, I'm looking on this gob to see what other things I can draw that have that shadow, that same color rather. And so I can because it's a gradient, I can add colors on it again to do it twice to get a darker tonality. Why can't I talk today? Come on. So there I'm drawing shadows, I'm drawing the thing, I'm drawing reflections. And this is how I draw anything, whether it be a pile of drafting equipment like this, or whether it's a landscape, or whether, oh, here's another. Oh, it's not a drop compass. I'll show you what these things are like in a minute, because they're actually quite fun. I have a collection of these, which I guess you can see. But I've got a huge collection of these, which you cannot see. But I'm telling you that I have a huge collection of these. And people that collect things because they are, often people collect things because they like seeing the differences among similar kinds of things. And a drafting set is just like any other sort of collectible thing. You can have a penny that's minted in this country, or this state rather, or that state, and this year or that year, and you want to have one of each to have a collection. Or you're refined and you have only certain things in your collection, certain types of. You have only the stamps that have the upside down airplane on them or something. So, anyway, I'll pretend I'm done. There's a lot of dark here. Oh, I'm not done yet. Some of these actual parts of the compass are actually dark. Because the light is sort of hidden from them. They look like shadows, and I'll fix that in a second by adding just a little bit of highlight on parts of it so you know that isn't a shadow. What do you think? Am I done now? No. The background here is quite uniform. It isn't uniform. It is not uniform, which sort of gives it this fractured look, which I kind of like. Oh, I've got another compass top. I was wondering where that was. This little knurled knob, knob, I guess, at the top of these things is for your hand to hold between your thumb and index finger, and to make it easy, they make it a knurled edge, just like your coins have knurled edges, so you can hold them easier. Okay, I suppose in this area there's some lighter things happening. But I think I'm kind of done. I'm either done or bored, or both. But then I start thinking of other things I need to do here. I love this line that they make. Each of these, this little line I'm making right here, this is all ergonomically designed. So you can use your, again, thumb and index finger to hold the tool and move it around, expanding it and putting it together. So here's what I mean. So here are this little arc. That's not for design. This is to make it easier for you to push them apart, push them together. Your thumb fits here. Some of them don't have that. They're just straight like this. What is that Q-tip doing here? And they're not as easy to use as this one. Here's the cheap one with the pretty designs on it. Come on. Okay. The drop compass is like this. Again, it can make a circle that's maybe an inch in diameter, and because it's so tiny, the space on your blueprint or your map where you want to draw your circle, they allow you to put the point where you want the point and then drop the pen down. When you've got both of them on one thing, it's a little harder to, when you're drawing a really tiny circle, to maneuver that in. This one is, most of these have they're either made with a pen or made with a pencil. That's a pen. That's a pencil. No, that's a pen. Sorry. I guess I don't have any ones with pencils here, but some of them have pencils. This one has both. And you just rotate this. Tighten that up, and now you've got the pencil. But it does look... I just stuck myself. But I like this because it's like someone that had a funny leg, you know, through falling off a horse or something, and the leg was set crookedly. So that's another one, like the horseshoe crab, where here's the other one that's like a horseshoe crab. I'll just take the price sticker off so you can see it better. They often have, they're offset. I mean, the drop thing is straight down and this comes off the side. Whereas these, the thing that you hold is in between the two ends of the arms. So it's actually, to draw a large circle with one of these things, you have to move your hand around. To draw a small circle with this one, the hand stays still, and use your finger here to move the, this thing is actually the turns, so you can, I'm not doing it very well here, but you can, there we go. You use this, it's stable, and you move that around. Anyway, so here's the drawing. Ta-da! I'll save my stop. This is a new operating system, and I'm not used to how it works. Where's save picture? I don't want to do that. I want to just save the goddamn picture. Export share, JPEG. Where's... No, I don't want to put it in Instagram. Where's save picture in your JPEG? Messages, mail, copy, drop, iTunes. I don't want any of that. I want, where's my photos? Is there some reason why they can't figure this out? Where's photos here? I used to be able to save it in photos. Done. Is there some reason why Dropbox? I don't want iCloud. I want it to go in my more. Okay, more. Messages. How do I save it? God bless. Edit. I don't want suggestions. I want, where does it go? Messages, no. Done. See, what do they, save to photos. Copy, Dropbox. I don't want to copy. Export, share. JPEG. Copy. Am I copying it to where? Where am I copying it to? No. I want it to go in my photos. Sketch Club. JPEG. I want it to be a JPEG. Dropbox. Messages. Instagram, Procreate, or more. None of these show my photos. None of these show my photos. Okay, back to gallery, save. Do I save it here? My local gallery. No. Okay, I'm going to try to figure this out. Bye.